All right, what's up, social workers? So week 6, we are almost there. Gosh, time, it truly does fly by. So this week we're gonna dive more into some of the immersive parts of therapy. We talked about assessment, we got termination coming up next week, but what's happening within? What's the meat to the sandwich, if you will? And so I like to talk about goals. And so goals are incredibly important because oftentimes we can get caught up in just the talking and processing and things like that happen within the session, which are great. However, real change happens outside of the office, and that's where SMART goals come into the picture. And so you may be familiar with SMART goals. A lot of organizations use it, so I'll just briefly go over it, and then I talked about it in the announcement as well. But SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time. And there is a little bit of an art, in my opinion, to making a SMART goal. And you'll learn a lot about this when you get better and better with using motivational interviewing. So we want to come up with a goal that makes sense for the client that you're working with. And it's important to ask them, what is important to them? What do they want to do? Help them understand their trajectory. And the art of being a therapist is what is a good goal that can get them where they want to go? In my example in the announcement here, I'm currently working with a patient who has agoraphobia with panic disorder. And so this client's life is impacted by a number of meetings. It takes this client about 2 hours to get out of the car just to go to work around a handful of people because that panic is so challenging. And this onset was about 2 years ago. And this was due to just something that happened during a training exercise within the military. The client has a goal that they just want to be able to go to public again, just to shop, just to be able to go to the mall, something as simple as that. And so if that's the overall goal in the end, and where the patient is at today, having a really, really hard time just got out of the car, we need to find something that's doable. So that's where SMART goal is effective. So I've worked with this client about 4 times. We've done some work, mostly around managing panic, anxiety, kind of grounding skills. Now it's time to put that into practice, into the real world. That way they can build some confidence and move closer and closer to where they want to go. And so the way I like to do that is like this. Hey, client, so we've done a lot of work. Let's talk about some goals that we have with the last 5 minutes we have in session. Is that okay with you? Oftentimes they'll say yes. Perfect. So I know that a big goal of yours is you want to be out in public with, around crowds. And so on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you could go out into the mall on a busy day right now? They'll probably say a 1 or 2. I'm perfect. Sounds like that's a little too much. So let's scale that back a little bit because I'm shooting for, I want to get to about a 5, 6, or 7-ish. I want to be pretty confident that you can do this. What if I asked you to go to any store during a non-busy time, say a Tuesday or Thursday at around 1 or 2 p.m.? Client says, yeah, I feel like I could do that. So give me a confidence, scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most confident you could be, 1 being not a chance I could do this. I don't know, I say it's about a 7. Good. On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to do that right now? I'm pretty motivated. I feel like I could do that. Awesome. So your SMART goal for this week is specific. I want you to go to a store 1 time in a non-busy time. It could be 1 or 2 p.m. on a weekday. Measurable, you're going once. Is that attainable? Yes, that's what the scaling question is for. Attainable, yes, I'm confident I could do that. Is it realistic? Yep, I could do that within a week. And like I mentioned, time. Yes, I'm gonna do this once during a 7-day period. That's a SMART goal. And the first thing I'll follow up with next session is hey, we'll check on some other things. Let's see how the goal went. Were you able to go to the store that 1 time? They say yes, that's awesome. I'm so proud of you, good job. We're really gonna reinforce that. Let's keep building on that. And they're no, I couldn't do it. And then that's the place to work. What got in the way? I don't know, I had too much anxiety, I started to panic. Now we know what to focus on that session. And then we're gonna try another goal. Super important because they give you benchmarks to as effective your treatment is going, and ultimately it gets them where they want to go. And so I have a metaphor there where therapy is about doing. I could tell you all day how to ride a bike. I could say, this is how you do it. You have to balance, put your helmet on, put your feet on the pedals. You may turn like this a little bit. Once you get a higher speed, you start to lean. That's great, but it's not going to teach you how to ride a bike. The answer is no. You learn how to ride a bike by doing it. You go out there and you wobble. You put one foot on the ground. Maybe you have your training wheels on. Maybe you fall. Who knows what? You have to get out there and practice. It's the same thing that happens with our clients that we're working with. And honestly, it's the same thing that happens to us as students. I could tell you all day to do these things, but they won't stick unless you do them. And so when I was in my MSW, I worked with my cohort a lot. I was like, hey, let's practice some of these techniques. And I'd call them up like, hey, I want to practice this motivational interviewing technique. I do it 2 or 3 times. That way in session, it became more natural. And so I encourage you to practice it as much as possible. So that's pretty much everything that I have. There's some more stuff to read on. As always, please feel free to reach out with any questions at all or use the Ask the Instructor question. Other than that, we'll see you next time.